Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, should Arizona children as young as 5 years of age be approved for treatment by medical marijuana? We'll have a debate. Also tonight, a new book chronicles the history of African Americans in Tempe. And we'll look at the unique style of an internationally acclaimed local dance company. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. 5-year-old Xander Welton of Mesa suffers from seizures caused by a genetic brain defect. The child's parents applied to have their son treated with medical marijuana by way of marijuana oil drops, and that application has been approved. But the case raises questions about exposing children to marijuana. Joining us now is State Representative John Kavanaugh, who says medical marijuana can harm children. And speaking in favor of medical marijuana for kids is Andrew Myers, campaign manager for Arizona's most recent medical marijuana initiative. Good to see you both here. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
All right, the idea of a 5-year-old granted the ability to use medical marijuana, a bad thing?
A very bad thing. Look, the FDA has not approved marijuana for the treatment of any condition whatsoever, right? And no major national medical association of physicians has said that it should be used to treat anybody. You have a few rogue state organizations, but it's not FDA approved. No major medical organization approves it. The American Academy of Pediatrics says don't give it to children. And now a new study came out in the last week which frankly says it is extremely dangerous for children. I would read 2 sentences from the author, which sum it all up. Data from epidemiological studies have repeatedly shown an association between cannabis use and subsequent addiction to heavy drugs and psychosis, that is schizophrenia. When the first exposure occurs in younger versus older adolescents, the impact of cannabis seems to be worse in regard to many outcomes such as mental health, education attainment, delinquency, and the ability to conform to adult roles.
All right,
it's dangerous stuff.
I want to get back to those studies in a second here, but a 5-year-old, medical marijuana, a good thing?
Well, I don't think that what we're discussing here is whether giving medical marijuana to a 5-year-old is a good thing. It's whether it's the best of the available options. And just to touch really quick on national organizations that support medical marijuana use, the American Public Health Association, the American Nurse Association, the British Medical Association, among many, many others, support the use of medical marijuana for a variety of conditions. But in the case of this child, I spent about an hour on the phone with Xander's father today, Jacob, and he gave me kind of a rundown of what Xander's been through over the last few years with his condition. The medications that he is currently on and have already taken are so much more dangerous for him than marijuana could ever be, and the outcomes and the available treatment for him are getting so narrow that at this point marijuana is his best option. Just for instance, let me continue. Depakote, a drug he was taking before, causes liver problems, diarrhea, dizziness, drowsiness, hair loss, blurred and double vision, ringing in ears, unsteadiness, and weight changes. He was actually admitted to the hospital for organ failure when he was on that medication. And for him now, the next step, if the cannabis treatment does not work, is he's going to have the entire left hemisphere of his brain detached in order to be able to treat this. So, I mean, right now we're considering options between drugs that were killing him, literally, cutting his brain off from the rest of his body systems, or trying something that might work.
If it helps with debilitating seizures for a 5-year-old, why not?
Nobody knows that it helps, and you just don't flip a coin and guess. The United States has the safest prescription and non-prescription drug program in the world because we don't allow snake oil to be peddled. Before a drug can be given to the public, studies have to be shown that convinces the FDA, research doctors, statisticians, pharmacologists, that it's safe and it's effective. Marijuana has not passed the hurdle for any condition whatsoever. And I heard the doctor of this poor child on TV, and the evidence she gave to give this child this dangerous drug, which can have very bad effects, was, quote, anecdotal evidence. That means rumor or stories that it helps some people. You don't treat patients based on that kind of flimsy evidence, contrary to the FDA and every major medical association.
Well, the truth of it is that off-label, often experimental treatments are tried with patients that are in dire medical situations all of the time, including Xander. I mean, this is a family that is at the end of their rope. And, I mean, I would actually ask those who would deny his ability to pursue this treatment, is having the left hemisphere of his brain shut off a more preferable option than using a natural remedy that, even if it is dangerous, even if there may be negative side effects associated with marijuana, they pale in comparison to the side effects of the treatments that he's currently getting and aren't going to be felt for many years. I mean, right now we have to treat the condition at hand. We have a child who's dying from this condition and must be treated.
Drugs can be used off-label, but those are approved drugs. Marijuana is not approved. And when they're used off-label, it usually has to be with the concurrence of the medical community. One of the problems I learned at the legislature is when you try to make a law based on a really unusual case. This poor child is an extremely unusual case. I don't deny the fact that a case like this, maybe we should have a medical committee or procedure which would allow this use. But certainly, this child's condition does not justify, you know, the 21,000 people on medical marijuana right now in Arizona, many of whom seem to be faking pain.
Well, we'll put that 21,000 over here. We'll keep the 5-year-old over here. If it provides any relief whatsoever, is it a bad thing?
Well,
5-year-old with debilitating seizures.
Oxycodone could give relief. Heroin might give relief. I mean, if you're going to pick among drugs where there's no evidence whatsoever that this helps, no reliable evidence,
if oxycodone and heroin provided relief, would you be against the child taking those particular medications?
Oxycodone is in fact a legal prescription drug that could be used. And if a doctor said yes, then it's legal and I would not object to that.
Well, I mean, I think we're showing how ridiculous the debate is around this now, is that we're saying that we ought to give heroin to a child before we would give marijuana to a child to be able to treat a condition.
No, I didn't say that.
Well,
I said they shouldn't give heroin because it's not approved, like marijuana is not approved.
Well, getting to the research, I mean, there are 5 distinct areas of medicine where marijuana has been shown time and again to be effective. And to get the research done, it has to be a priority for the medical industry, but we have a situation where the federal government says we cannot use this because we don't have the studies to be able to prove its effectiveness, but then they do not allow the studies to proceed. And I mean, they catch medical marijuana and its treatment in a catch-22, but there have been many studies that many of them double-blind, that show that marijuana is effective in treatment of nausea, in the treatment of pain, particularly neuropathic pain, in the treatment of spasms and seizures, like in the case of this child, the treatment of anxiety, and the treatment of dementia and Alzheimer's. There's a large study with 60 patients coming out of Israel later this year showing exceptional results for dementia patients.
Not one of these studies, not one, has passed the FDA's hurdle. That's what protects us from snake oil. And alluding to studies that the FDA considers inadequate is not a justification to use a drug. And there is research being taken place. University of Arizona is doing research. I supported a bill to allow more research. The day that medical marijuana is shown by the FDA to treat a condition, then we won't need dispensaries because the person can have a legitimate doctor dispense it and go to their regular pharmacy to get it.
You said that if marijuana were legal, that would change the dynamic as far as you were concerned. Medical marijuana is legal in Arizona.
No, by legal, I mean legal in terms of the FDA allowing it to be prescribed as a drug.
So you have to have those imprimaturs. You have to have that okay from certain what? Agencies, from certain hierarchies?
No, in this country, before anybody can market a drug, it has to be proven scientifically to be safe and effective. That's how all of your drugs get to the marketplace, to protect you. Marijuana has never passed the hurdle for any condition.
Do you believe that medical marijuana or this oil, which we don't even know if this oil is legal, by the way, now we're finding out that because it's a derivative or an offshoot of medical marijuana, it may not even pass muster legally. However, but do you believe that this would be more harmful to a 5-year-old child with this condition than the other therapies the child is taking now?
I don't know, and quite frankly, I would leave it to medical experts, the FDA, their pharmacologists, their researchers, their statisticians. They're the ones who are impartial experts who look at the evidence objectively and not with the emotion of a distraught father or the politics of somebody who wants to legalize marijuana.
Last word on this. You wait for folks who are experts in the field to say this is safe, this is effective.
I think we should listen to experts in the field. And I think the experts in the field that have studied this have been overwhelmingly clear that medical marijuana is effective. What the representative wants us to do is to wait for a federal government agency that is influenced heavily by the pharmaceutical companies not to approve a drug that cannot be patented. And I think that we need to remember that we would like to believe that all government agencies are equal and just when they hand down these decisions, but corporate interests have a lot of control over these types of decisions at the FDA level.
We have to stop it right there. Gentlemen, good to have you both here. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it.
A new book on the history of African Americans in Tempe will be offered to the public tonight at a forum at the Tempe History Museum. Jared Smith is the author of the book and a curator at the museum. Thank you so much for joining us on Arizona Horizon.
Oh, thank you for having me, Ted.
Okay, a book on African Americans in Tempe. Why that subject? Why not Phoenix, Scottsdale, Prescott, Tucson, Tempe?
Well, Tempe is it's a city that takes a great deal of pride in its diversity today. And, we have, over the years, those stories were not always well told. You now have the Mexican-American population of Tempe, who over the years have largely redressed the problems of not getting, that the story wasn't told. Mm-hmm. And of course, they had been here from the very beginning of Tempe. The story of African Americans had not yet gotten out there. And it was people in the community who saw a gentleman named Edward Smith who saw and realized that it was time for that to be redressed, which led to the formation of the African American Advisory Committee at the museum, and then eventually led to this book project.
The experience any different in Tempe than other local cities?
There's a lot of crossover because the African American community, a lot of it in this region gravitated towards Phoenix. There were small communities in Mesa, Chandler, and I know other parts of the valley, but a lot of the focus was in Phoenix. So the Tempe community was so small as such, you almost wouldn't call it a community. Before the post-World War II period, but there were people there from the 1880s on at least.
Judging from the book, it sounds like the city was not always the most welcoming to African immigrants. A Klan presence in Tempe, I guess, in the 1920s, and Tempe was considered a sundown town. Explain that, please.
Okay, well, it's one of those things that basically the idea that African Americans they could work here, but they were not welcome to be here after dark. Which at times is oddball because you do have some people who are living here nonetheless, in very small numbers and often in the rural districts. But there was no law in the books. This was a kind of social code, and everybody knew it. And the only time there was very briefly a law in the books, it was directed towards Native Americans. After the city was incorporated, they quickly took it off the books.
With that in mind, what changed? Was World War II? What drove the change? Arizona State University, the Teachers College. What happened there?
A lot of it. ASU is a big wedge into this. It's from just after World War I, you start to have African Americans attending ASU, and they have to go because they're going to be teachers for some of these various segregated schools around the state. And so that's one of the key wedges. Eventually, the education system, the school system, becomes another wedge in the early 50s when Tempe integrates in 1952. As far as the African American students are concerned.
And that's pre-Brown versus Board of Education.
That's right. That's right. It's just preceding that.
Let's take a look at some of the photographs here, and it's interesting that Buffalo Soldiers in the Salt River Valley, Tempe included, That was this photograph here. We're talking turn of the century. This is among the earliest settlers.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, these we only know of one gentleman who's probably a Buffalo soldier who settled in Tempe. His name is Theodore Thomas. He probably came with the 10th Cavalry during the expeditions against Geronimo. But after that time period, a lot of these veterans would settle, especially in the Phoenix area. And you would also get some of these guys retiring after the Spanish-American War. So you had a good-sized presence, maybe pretty small in Tempe, but good-sized presence overall of Buffalo soldiers.
And the first African Americans, we think, born in Tempe, were those two young kids, the first far left and
the far right.
Far right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
right. That's Archie on the left, Archie Lewis. His mother is Ada Green Lewis. Their grandmother is the first acknowledged permanent African American settler to this area. That's Mary Green. Archie was born in the mid-1890s, and his sister Susie would follow not too long thereafter. And they were both born in Tempe, the first known African American children born there.
And lived where now? It was obviously everything kind of happened downtown, didn't it?
Not real clear. You still had quite a few people living in what would have been the rural districts at that time. There were a few people in town. Theodore and Maggie Thomas, right after about the turn of the century and after, settled in kind of the downtown Maple area of Tempe.
We have a photograph of the Crimson Rims baseball team, and we see an African-American athlete there on the side. Again, turn of the century here. Athletics probably another factor in integration eventually, correct?
You know, absolutely. Even though a lot of the teams tend to be segregated in those days, but you still, as this photograph is perfect evidence of, you have a lot of crossover. In the territorial period, you'll see a little bit more crossover where you have an African-American player on the Tempe Crimson Rims. Seated next to him is E.P. Carr, founder of Carr's Mortuary. So you have white players. It looks like some Hispanic players on the team. Baseball was one of those common sports. Everybody played it. It was extremely popular, and I think it did eventually help.
Dr. Martin Luther King speaking at Goodwin Stadium, the old football stadium. I think it's near College and Apache, the north side of Apache, somewhere. I think it's parking garage there now, or the rec center. But again, spoke here in, 64?
Yeah, that's right, June of 64. And Robert Spindler, archivist over at ASU, pointed out, think of how hot it was that night. These guys are sitting there in their suits. Probably can't wait to get back into some air conditioning.
Yeah.
He's sitting to give a speech in front of 8,000 very hot but enthusiastic people.
And President Obama obviously has been to Tempe as well, before
Absolutely.
and after being president, if I recall. I think he was here, went back when he was a senator, visited the campus.
Yeah, that's right. It's right. So you have, and a lot of people even equate the two visits in a lot of ways.
And finally, we have Curly Culp, which I had to show this because just inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. Curly Culp, Homecoming King, 1967, huh?
1967, that's right. And, is for, people at that time are still struggling to buy homes in Tempe. If you're African American, you're still having a hard time. This is a big deal. Here we have a black homecoming king and a white homecoming queen. And it's pretty remarkable for a town that it had some of the challenges it had over the years, and it's maybe in part the star power and how well liked Curly Culp was on the ASU campus. It doesn't hurt, and certainly a good sign of the times.
So much of this seems so long ago, and yet Tempe really. First African-American city council member is on the council now, and he's a young guy. He's Corey Woods.
That's right.
So what do you, looking back, seeing what's happening now, what do you want folks to take from this book?
Well, I hope, if nothing else, there is a story there. Often, the first thing people think is an African-American history of Tempe. Well, there's history everywhere, of course. And part of it is seeking it out. Luckily, for especially the post-World War II period, we have a lot of oral histories, community members who sat down and really helped make this project really breathe life into it. It also took some digging into archives and records before that, but you know, you hope that people start to think about the complexity of these things and, you know, and to learn from it. And if they disagree with something, you know, go out, write articles, write books, or if you agree, however it is. You know, we need more to this story because there are a lot of unanswered questions still.
Jared, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Ted.
Last month, Scorpius Dance Theater became the first Arizona company invited to the Booking Dance Festival, part of the world-renowned Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Producer Christina Estes and photographer Stephen Snow introduce us to the Scorpius Dance Theater.
A little more closer to each other. I felt like you guys were separated. I'm the director and choreographer and founder of Scorpius Dance Theater. It is my baby.
Lisa Starry's baby was born in 1999.
I was focusing on my teaching career, and it was really hard to go to rehearsals. I just felt like really I also needed to do my own work. So I gathered a bunch of friends and said, do you want to start this company? And they all said yes, and that's how we started.
What they started was pretty unusual. Performances packed with beauty, emotion, and diversity.
We have such a wide array of technical dancers. They're hip-hop, they're ballet, they're contemporary, they're acrobatic, you know. So I love having all of those art forms combined into one dance company or dance theater.
Gary Sisson took his aerial artistry to Scotland. Water Dreams was one of 2 Scorpius performances at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe.
It's amazing you get to fly. You totally are suspended off of the ground just by wrapping yourself up in this piece of fabric and floating around and being twirled in the air and then taking a risk and taking that breath and falling all the way down.
There was a review from The Scotsman, which is a huge newspaper there. It's like the New York Times in New York City. And we were mentioned, both my pieces were mentioned in there, and that was the icing on the cake.
Starry says the exposure can lead to teaching opportunities and tours, like their first big paid gig coming up in Helena, Montana.
They're paying us a nice lump sum, and I have to budget that because you have to pay for your airfare, and then the rest of the money will go to performers, your crew, and food stipend and stuff like that. So it's exciting.
They'll perform A Vampire Tale. After 10 years in Phoenix, Starry says it's become a cult classic.
We've marketed and called it like the Nutcracker of Halloween.
It's about a young woman who falls into a clan of vampires and then falls for the king, which angers the queen. Assistant director Nicole Olson is the queen.
It's my favorite place to be. It's the best high, is to be on stage in front of people.
It's not just different styles that set Scorpius apart.
We can do 1 to 2 to 3 week runs, which is really rare for a dance company because most dance companies will work for 6 months on a piece and perform one night at a large theater, and that's it. And if you come, you come. If you didn't, you missed out. So we have been able to develop a really big and diverse audience because we perform longer throughout the year.
You know, we want Joe Schmo off of the sidewalk to come in and take something away from our show, whether it be the athleticism, the subtle movement, the amazing lights, the amazing music. You know, we want anybody to take away anything, one thing at least, from one of our shows.
Lisa believes that, you know, you should have an audience leave saying, I wish I could have seen 10 more minutes of that, instead of saying, gosh, I wish that would have ended 10 minutes ago.
Starry's baby is celebrating its 14th year, a challenging time for any parent.
It seems like it's been a long time, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of financial sacrifices.
But Starry says the payoff comes with every performance.
Seeing all these people come and smile or cry and clap really loud, that just makes my day.
Scorpius will present A Vampire Tale in mid-October at the Phoenix Little Theater before moving on to performances in Montana.
Get the inside scoop on what's happening at Arizona PBS. Become an 8 Insider. You'll receive weekly updates on the most anticipated upcoming programs and events. Get the 8 Insider delivered to your email inbox. Visit azpbs.org to sign up today.
Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. The state's congressional delegation considers President Obama's plans to attack Syria, and Governor Brewer appeals the rejection of federal aid for the Yarnell Hill fire. Those stories and more Friday on the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.